Hey, just before we get started, this is a conspiracy, paranormal, and true crime podcast.
The nature of this podcast is gory, unsettling, and definitely vulgar.
And we curse a lot.
Like, a lot.
So be advised that we are not detectives, we are not professionals, and we are not aliens.
Well, we might be aliens, but what we are sure of is that we are just two idiots with a mic.
Yo, and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylar.
And I'm Morgan, and this is episode 91.
90.
Just
90.
kidding.
Sorry, guys. We've been changing some things around. Like you guys know, we have been recording early, and then anyways, we've been doing a lot of craziness. But today we're recording a special location. Morgan, home where we're recording.
Taylor and I have makeshift a recording studio in the comfort of Taylor and her husband's bed, and I am currently in the spot of her husband's side of the bed.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here chilling. We have Willy Wonka on the TV, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
It's on mute. The captions are on. I'm totally into it right now. I'm actually more into it than what's going on and what we're talking about. She's probably pissed at me and wants it off the TV.
No, because I can't stop watching it. We're probably going to have to change it to something else because
good.
we just need to put on The Office or something that we've already seen all.
I could totally do that. But it's off Netflix. But no, so we are...
It's off Netflix?
Yes, it's off Netflix.
Where are we supposed to watch it?
Peacock.
Peacock?
Yeah.
Do you have Peacock?
I do. I have every... Are you
of course.
kidding?
You have every streaming.
I have every streaming service ever.
No, she really does. She has every single streaming
Every single one.
Because she's an avid TV watcher.
A worker.
She's an avid
I work the TV.
Worker. She does. She works on television. Duh. the biz. But we were watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We had to press pause and watch this one scene because we both couldn't pay attention long enough to finish this freaking intro.
He got the golden ticket. We were like, all right,
we have
pause
to
the
see
episode.
This.
We have to watch this.
I forgot how amazing it is. But then we had a long conversation about what each of the children represent in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It's like the sins.
Yeah, it's a sins. It's gluttony, lust and wrath,
pride.
What was the other one?
Greed. Did you say that?
Yeah, greed. God. And I was like, I remember learning about, so you watch this like when you're younger, like when it came out. Like I remember watching this on a movie day at school. And then I watched it again when I was in, I think, my psychology class in high school.
Really?
And we were learning about like the message behind this. Like it was a lot more than just like obviously religion. It had like a lot to do with like psychological profiling of people with these like tendencies and characteristics can basically break you from like getting your overall goals or like anything in the world.
Yeah. Holy ship.
Yeah. So now every
deep.
time I watch it, I'm like, wow.
That
shit is deep.
Wow. So we would need to reevaluate our lives here.
We do. I wonder how we would do in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Like I would be so like nonchalant and just like happy to be there, I think.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I'd be like, Daddy, I want the square now.
Daddy, they're taking too long. Can you speed up time?
Daddy, speed up time now.
Right.
I'm Violet Beauregard and I chewed gum to get my way here.
And the fucking kid with the chocolate all over his mouth. And he's like, gross.
I love chocolate.
Yeah, he literally can't stop talking long enough to like get a breath in from the amount of chocolate. Yeah, I just like
wasn't like that like interesting as a kid, I feel like.
I just don't think I would think of it as a competition because I don't feel like it was ever presented as a competition, like mainly just getting the tickets. Right. But like what's the grand prize? Like what competitions are we going to be doing? You know what I mean?
Sorry. I'm just breaking my mic over here.
Oh no. Oh guys, you have to hear what I made today. The salsa ordeal I made.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Okay, get your pens and papers. Press pause. Not on us, but like press pause on driving. Pull over on the side of the road. You're not ready for this.
Take it off cruise control.
If you're walking, stop. Okay, this is that. Get a like watermelon and cut it in quarters. Thinly slice the watermelon into cubes. Okay, and then you get a cucumber and you thinly, as much as you want. Like I liked it to be equal with the amount of watermelon. I think I used 1.5 cucumbers. Then chop them up cubes, tiny cubes, okay, like pico de gallo. And then you're gonna get half of an avocado. You can probably use a whole avocado, but I'm kind of weird about avocado. Lemon juice, half of a red onion, thinly diced, and then you put lemon juice, olive oil, or you can use avocado oil. I use a little bit of both because I'm almost out of both. And then you put salt, pepper, feta cheese, as much feta cheese as you want. I'm a feta cheese whore, so I put a ton.
Huge whore for feta cheese.
Yes, and I think that was it.
It was so good. And you used those blue
chips.
tortilla chips.
We had blue corn tortilla chips with it. Amazing.
It was so good.
It's delicious. We pounded like the entire thing.
And it was from TikTok, right?
It was from TikTok. It was from Bria. She's got the blonde hair. She's a very soft-spoken little blonde girl. She's really, really sweet. She does it with mango, all that same stuff instead of watermelon, mango, and she adds like spicy like roasted corn into it. Oh my God, that sounds great. And she also uses spicy honey from Trader Joe's. But I didn't
spicy
have that.
honey, I've never heard of that, but that sounds amazing, honestly, on anything, even just
honey.
toast. That sounds so good.
I love spicy honey.
So should we tell them about our weekend? Did we already tell them about our
No,
weekend?
I deleted that whole part because we were too busy watching Charlie and the Chocolate
Oh,
Factory.
and we were just like zonked out.
Yeah, we
like,
were
just,
literally
like, totally
not paying
zoned.
attention at all.
So we drove to Memphis. It was me, Taylor, our friend McKenna, Aaron, and Logan. We went to Memphis. We had our friend Noodles and Peyton, so they had a couple shower.
Yes.
So we headed there at around 5 o'clock on Friday, right after work. Got there, spent the night, got up, set up the party, had a grand old time.
Oh yeah, we had great food.
Great food. Taylor put together this bomb ass charcuterie board.
I love a charcuterie board. I love a charcuterie board.
I
love a good charcuterie
We
board.
love a good coochie board.
Yeah.
And then we packed to the car and had to come back. We had basically for me, I have a lot of travel, for you too. We just have a lot of travel, a lot going on. We're recording 3 episodes today. So we had to come back today, and McKenna had to work. Or yesterday, sorry.
Yeah,
so we came back yesterday. After. And guys, our drive home, we were like
delusional.
You know how like you're like at the point of like a late night slumber party, and like you're like almost to the point of like cracked out. Like you're not there fully. And that's how we were the whole car ride. I think the boys wanted to die. They wanted to
kill us.
Taylor, we go to a Shell gas station. First off, Taylor on road trips, she's got to pee. Every 5 seconds, she's got to pee. She's got to pee. She eats one Talkie. She goes, oh, I got to pee. Talkies make me pee. Spicy foods make me pee.
Do they not make you pee?
They don't make me pee, but...
I mean, every time I have a Talkie, I can have like hot, spicy Cheetos.
Yeah, and like you have to pee.
I have to pee 100 times.
I could go for a Talkie right now.
Me too.
Oh, we were so funny on the way there too. We got a snack bag, guys, and we're like, okay, let's all get one of everything.
Yes.
So Taylor's like, I'll get the Cheetos cheese puffs, and McKenna's like, I'll get hot fries, and I'm like, I'll get Takis, and then we're like, okay, let's get something sour, sweet, and chocolate. So McKenna's like, I'll get Kit Kats, and Taylor's like, cool, I'll get Sour Patch Kids. And I'm like, cool, I'll get High Chews. So like we had a snack bag of like everything that you could possibly need.
And we pounded that thing.
Pounded the shit out of it. So anyway, we're at the Shell. We're on our way home, and Taylor goes, wow, that grande iced honey bun looks so good. I said, the what? She goes, the grande iced honey bun. I said, the grand iced honey bun?
No. The grande iced honey bun.
Like she was ordering at Starbucks. We're at the Shell gas station off some...
Can I get a grande iced honey bun, please?
Hi, welcome to Shell. How can I take your order today? Hi, I'll have a grande iced honey bun, please, with 1 pump of vanilla, extra ice.
Extra cinnamon.
With skim milk, please. That was the vibe. We were like, just like... We were screaming, delusional, laughing the entire time. Everything was fucking hilarious to us.
Oh, and the boys are convinced that they're buying motorcycles.
So we also pull up to the show. Okay. And also the whole entire time.
This is the entire drive.
We have this whole vibe of like what kind of music we were playing. Like we were on aux. Yes. Period. Yes. Well, Logan wanted to like either like kind of like impress us. I think he was going for like he wanted to pick the songs.
He wanted to pick the songs, but we had already lined it up in a great way to like transition to different genres.
Yeah.
So we had done like country.
And, like we could feel our own vibe.
Yeah, like there. We knew where we were all going.
So we're getting off this exit, and he did that same thing. Well, he picks One Time by Justin Bieber. Me plus you, I'm gonna tell you one time. So we're fucking jamming to it. It is on full volume. We're screaming.
The boys are screaming.
The boys are okay. Again, the whole topic of conversation was that they are getting bikes.
They're going to be a bike gang.
They are getting motorcycles. Like, they will be bikers. Like,
they were talking about, like, what vest they're going to design.
Like they have a name of their gang. Like, they're serious. This is all after Top Gun, by the way.
Yeah.
This is where they're going. They're growing stashes. Like, this is where we're at. So we're blasting. Me, bless you, in this big ass Ford F-150. We pull into the Shell. Again, this is off some random ass road in Tennessee.
In the middle of Tennessee.
In the middle of like
Bumfuck
middle
nowhere.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
And we pull in the Shell, and there's like bikes.
gang.
A biker gang, guys. There's a biker gang. And we're still jamming, and I'm geeking out. I'm like, guys, turn it down. And he's like, whoa, why?
Why would we turn it down? It's a great song. And we're like, your biker guys are here. You're
bros.
You're hurting your fucking street cred right now.
Your bros are here, guys.
It was so embarrassing secondhand.
It was so bad.
And they were like, oh my God. You could hear us cackling outside
I
of the
was
car.
screaming, laughing. I was like, there's no way this is happening.
They're just ridiculous. We were dying, guys. And y'all are probably like, this is not funny. We were delusional.
It was so funny to us.
It was hilarious. I guess we better get to the case because it's definitely 12 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It is 12 minutes. But we do have a little announcement.
Okay, yeah.
This is episode 90, correct?
90, yes.
We are going to be wrapping up our LGBTQ cases.
For Pride
this
Month.
episode for
Yes.
Pride Month.
And this is going to be the last one that we do for a few reasons. Number one, we've already first off, there's 5 or 6 like Thursdays in June.
Yeah.
And that can be a little bit of a lot to hear, especially for people that are within the LGBTQ plus community. And we did have a few people reach out to us and kind of express this, that it just wasn't a place that they felt like they could. They wanted to kind of they want to be celebrated this month, and we completely understand, and we are sorry that we even kind of got you in that position, but we did want to cover these last 2 cases, mainly because one of them is just kind of crazy, like not gory. Neither of them are gory, but mine is about a missing persons case that I really got super connected to while researching, and we wanted to make this the last episode where we are doing this. But either way, we're still celebrating Pride Month with you. We just wanted to make sure that this was like a fun, uplifting environment for you, and you didn't feel like you couldn't listen to us throughout June because maybe this was just a little too harsh and sensitive at the time. All right.
Cool. But if you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy.
Okay, Morgan. Well, what do you have for us today?
Today, I have a little true crime conspiracy for the people. Who is she?
Who is she?
No, but really, today I'm going to be talking about the one, the only Miss Dorian Corey.
Oh my God. I love Dorian Corey.
I know you do.
Paris is Burning is what made me fall in love with Dorian Corey.
I know. Dorian Corey has a legacy, you guys. For those that don't know her, that remains as one of the most important and influential to the drag communities in the LGBTQ plus communities. But before we dive into Miss Dorian Corey, I'm going to do a little bit of history on the art of drag. So the history of drag queens is actually dated all the way back to the theater god himself, Shakespeare.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
In the 17th century, women were not allowed to be actors in Shakespearean theater plays. Therefore, every female role was played by men.
Right.
The dresses that the men wore to these plays to play these female roles would drag along the floor, which birthed the word drag into our vocabulary.
Wow.
Since this time, the art of drag has drastically changed. Modern day drag is practiced by people of all gender identities, and it brings an abundance of confidence and energy and sass and pizzazz.
Love a good drag show.
Yeah. Drag also has taken influence on many different other industries as well, like makeup and fashion and performing arts.
Literally changing the face of makeup.
Oh, for sure.
You like your setting powder? Thank the drag queens.
Yeah, for sure. The biggest message that is preached by the drag community is that men can be feminine. And in fact, men should be in touch with their feminine side. And if they choose to do so, it doesn't make them any less of a man than a man who isn't LGBTQ plus or a man who doesn't do drag. I saw this on a Boise Highlights article. The article is called The Influence of Drag in the LGBTQ Community. And I couldn't put it in better words, so I'm going to quote them, actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
It says, down to its core, drag is really all about being yourself and not caring about what other people think of you. It's about self-love and exploring the things that make you unique and letting them shine. The drag community is probably one of the most welcoming communities you could ever be a part of and witness. A lot of that is because it is a community filled with people who know what it's like to feel like an outcast and who also know that loving yourself is just as important as loving others.
Okay, I love it. You're right. That is the best quote.
Yeah, it's so cute. And Dorian Corey was the queen of the drag community. Dorian Corey was born in 1937 in Buffalo, New York, to her father, Franklin Legg, and mother, Mary Fox Clark. Franklin and Mary had Dorian out of wedlock, although they married when she was around 10 years old. Dorian was raised on a farm, and while growing up in Buffalo, she worked as a window dresser at a department store called Henger's. Sorry.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. She made the move to the big city, New York, when she decided to enroll and attend Parsons, the new school for design. While at Parsons, Dorian studied art and then graduated as a fashion designer. Yes.
Wow.
Once in New York, Dorian transitioned fully and identified as a woman. In the 1960s, Dorian joined a cabaret drag act and toured as a snake dancer in the Pearl Box Revue.
Wow.
From this, she was one of the 4 performers who appeared on the 1972 Pearl Box Revue LP Call Me Mister. And it was around this time that Dorian became fucking legendary.
Literally.
Dorian became the founder and created the House of Corey, who specialized in voguing. So voguing was this highly stylized modern house dance that originated in the late 1980s that evolved out of the Harlem ballroom scene of the 1960s. So if you're thinking of the Madonna face framing voguing, you're wrong.
You're incorrect.
Madonna basically stole that shit.
Straight up stole it.
But Taylar knows a lot, or is
I know a little bit about
the ballroom scene,
watching
so I'm going to let her
Paris is
touch
Burning.
on that.
So if you haven't watched Paris is Burning, first off, it is great insight into the Harlem ballroom scene, LGBTQ plus drag growth, and it's a great eye-opening way to see this, and it really talks about a lot of racism even within LGBTQ plus and beyond. And so these ballroom scenes, I keep calling them ballroom scenes, but they're ball scenes. They're kind of like competitions, and they were centered around these houses. So she did talk about the House of Corey. Yes. And again, we are not professionals. We are not specialists. We are not in at these ball scenes. This is just from what we have both learned from research, watching Paris is Burning, and then also if you haven't watched Pose on FX, it's literally a show based off of Paris is Burning. Dorian Corey's in this. There's a lot of detail on this, and it's a great show, by the way. Great show.
Great show. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 show. But basically, this ball scene was created as a way of with these houses, and these houses were ways of bringing together homeless or people who were kicked out of their homes that had no families, building families and places of refuge for these LGBTQ plus members that wanted to be a part of the drag scene. And these house mothers Dorian Corey were basically serving as very nurturing, kind, loving, homey people.
And majority were African American.
Yes, this was created. The ballroom scene was created, or the ball scene was created mainly for LGBTQ plus Black and Latino members to kind of have their own way within the culture and use pieces of their own culture to build this scene, because even though this was LGBTQ plus, there still was a lot of racism within the community itself. Yeah. So these drag queens were kind of finding their own way to be who they wanted and create their own side of the culture. And it's a lot more, there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more detail, but these competitions, these houses would go to and they would compete. And Dorian Corey's house, literally,
the House of Corey was the shit.
Yes, House of Corey would straight up sweep on every voguing competition that there was and do amazing. So that is why she's saying specialize in voguing and so on and so forth. But again, that is kind of what the scene is, and it really centers around Harlem. And we see videos of it today a lot, and I'm sure you've seen it on your For You page. Even if you're really not familiar or within the LGBTQ plus community, you do see there's a little stage and the people get on in drag and they perform in big, it's all about your costume and what you're performance is and what the competition is, and you're in the middle and you get to see the voguing and the awesome like drops on the ground that are so crazy and everybody goes like literally insane.
Yeah.
And or you get up there and you absolutely bomb and they just fucking stare at you like, what are you doing? Get off the stage. But like that is what it is. Like that is literally what the ball scene is.
Can you imagine that though in the 80s?
No, I literally couldn't. I mean, I bet it was amazing. Well, so I watched this one clip on Paris is Burning, and it's of the military competition. And it's all about how well you can truly like embody someone that is in the military. So they would practice the military walk, the way that you hold like the flags and the guns and the movement and the way that your arm was like the calls, everything. It is so intense. It's amazing to watch.
Oh my god.
They truly embody every piece of this competition, and it is so sharp and it's so intense, and
that is fucking hard.
Oh, it's fucking hard. And they have these judges up there, but these homes, like we said, they were created as like a safe space for these people that didn't have families, didn't have jobs, and these house mothers like Dorian Corey would come in and serve as someone who gets you a job or helps you, like if you're in trouble, we'll come get you. And Dorian Corey was known for being nurturing, amazing, just like making you feel so comfortable and loved. But there was one thing everyone knew about Dorian Corey,
and that was not to fuck with her.
You did not fuck with Dorian Corey.
Period.
Thank you, Taylar.
I just knew, guys, that she knew she was just very well.
I just love the drag scene.
Yeah.
I've been obsessed with it for a really long time.
And I couldn't have done it better than her. So I had to let her take it away.
If you think we didn't do a great job at it, I'm really sorry. Again, we're not professionals. But this is just from what we could understand from our end of watching it and talking with our friends that are within the drag scene and the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah. So Dorian, guys, she was like the mama bear and the fucking queen of drag. And her fashion, which was iconic within the ball scene. And she stayed just as fabulous all the way to the end. Dorian contracted HIV and became very, very ill. On August 29th, 1993, Dorian Corey died of AIDS at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in Manhattan, New York. She was 56 years old. Dorian's remains were cremated and spread across the waters off City Island, New York. The last couple years of Dorian's life, her friend and fellow drag queen Louis Taylar had been taking care of her. Before Dorian died, she instructed her best friend and caretaker, Louis Taylar, to take whatever clothes and costumes that she wanted and to just sell the rest. And you guys, when we're talking about these clothes and costumes, like this shit was iconic.
We're literally not talking about my closet, like filled with Target shit. We're talking about like handmade, bedazzled, fashion designer couture shit. Couture shit. Okay.
Like she had this one outfit. Taylar is going to be able to describe it better than me.
I love it.
But it was iconic. Used during a competition.
Yeah, during one of the balls.
Go ahead, take it away.
So, guys, this is like probably one of the most iconic things that Dorian
Taylar
Corey
would wear
ever
it if she
did.
could.
I would literally buy this.
She would have gotten married in it.
So this like she was known for like these capes, like these awesome capes that she would wear. So she walks out onto the ball like floor, right? She's got this cape on. It's huge, right? It's heavy. It's gigantic. It's huge, okay? Pulls the string on it. The fucking thing turns into a tent that covers the entire floor. A fucking tent. The crowd, everybody. You won.
Period. Show's over.
You fucking won. You literally won. Are you kidding?
I would have dropped to my knees.
No, I would have
bowed down.
I would have died. I would have just straight up died. First off, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? But like, how do you even have the like creativity to be like, this is what I'm about to do?
Yeah.
And it's just gonna go perfect.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna shock the shit out of everybody. Like, no one's gonna know. And she made handmade every single thing that she ever wore. It was handmade.
How do you even like get this space to like craft a outfit like that?
I wouldn't even know what to do. First off, I don't even know how to like sew up a hole in my pants.
Me neither.
I just rock a hole in my pants.
Let alone a piece of fabric that's going to cover the entire fucking floor.
And
into a tent.
To wear that on your body. You know how heavy that must have been.
No.
And it's like bedazzled, feathered out. Like
I would have been sweating my ass off.
We'd have straight up died. And you're in full drag. Like
Sweating.
Dead.
Immediately dead.
I looked like a fucking mess on my wedding day, and I just had to walk down like a little thin.
Can you imagine, guys? I'm literally, if Taylar could go back on her wedding day, I could see Taylar walking down the aisle. She gets, okay, Logan's all emotional. She's in this gorgeous white gown, right? It's real, it's slim, it's flattering, it's skin tight, you know, it's just, you know. She gets to the end of the aisle. Logan's tearing up. I'm up there holding her the bouquet. I'm crying too. I did cry also.
You did.
And she gets up there and she's just like got this big like smile on her face.
Big smile.
And I'm like, oh, she's up to something.
Yeah.
And she just pulls some fucking cord. And this giant thing fans over everybody into this tent.
Could you imagine if I did that?
You probably would have.
I would, yeah. If I knew how to do that, I probably would have fucking done that.
Yeah.
I'd have been on like Ellen.
Maybe I will do it.
Oh my God, you have to. At your
Maybe
Greek wedding.
We'll craft that.
We're not going to be able to fucking get that over to Greece, Morgan.
Oh, you're right. I'm getting married in Greece.
Yeah, okay. Go back to Dorian Corey.
Okay, so anyway, yes, Lewis was instructed to go through all the costumes, go through all my clothes, take what you want, and just sell the rest. And that is exactly what Lewis did. She sifted through Dorian's amazing closet and she made plans to sell the rest to this Halloween collection store who specifically wanted all of Dorian's extravagant costumes. Side note, the owners of this Halloween show store were two straight men.
And they were obsessed with Dorian shit.
They were obsessed. Lewis invited the customers to Dorian's home, which was located on West 140th Street in Harlem. While sifting through Dorian's closet, Lois came across a trunk. This trunk was so heavy that even Lois couldn't even move it.
Like, oh my God.
Thinking they were about to find like this most extraordinary costume of all. I'm sure the anticipation was building.
I bet they were like, what in God's name?
Lois and the two men opened the trunk to reveal this like lumpy plaid garment bag. Like a garment bag that would hold a
huge
dress.
ordeal of stuff.
A huge costume. Sorry, that's my MacBook. Dinging. One of the men took a knife and cut open the bag. And instantly, a foul odor and dust took over the small closet. Lois immediately called 911. She's like, oh, hell no. I'm not getting in the middle of this.
You know exactly what that smell was.
Yes. And when police arrived, they also knew exactly what that smell was. And they began to cut through layers and layers of wrapping, including a layer of something called naugahyde. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a type of like faux leather.
Oh, wow.
In that garment bag, you guys, was a partially mummified human body. It was a male. He was in the fetal position, wearing blue and white boxer shorts. And there was a single bullet wound to the head. The man's formerly brown complexion was now purple and yellow. His body had been sprinkled or covered with baking soda. And also between the layers that he was wrapped in were vintage beer can lids. The police had suspected that his body had been there anywhere from 7 months to 20 years.
Holy shit.
They described it as being partially mummified, but also partially decomposed. Because it was wrapped in so many layers, especially the leather, which they had assumed was why that foul odor never escaped the trunk, the body was never exposed to air, resulting in it being partially mummified. But because it wasn't tightly wrapped like a mummy would be, and the body was losing so much liquid, the body was also floating in a pool of its own liquid.
Oh my God.
And the cops were pointing fingers straight at Lois Taylar. Immediately telling her that basically, you know, we found your fingerprints on this. You're going to be charged for murder.
You're going to jail.
Yep. And Lois Taylar, you're going to jail. Straight to jail for Lois Taylar.
Straight to jail.
And Lois Taylar, according to a 1994 interview that she did with the New York Magazine, she says, quote, I'll tell you one motherfucking thing. You might see my hands on top of the damn thing, but I only weigh 135 pounds, and I couldn't even move that thing, even if I wanted to.
I'll tell you one motherfucking thing.
I'll tell you one motherfucking thing. It ain't me.
And first off, I'm 130 pounds. I couldn't even turn that thing over. We had to cut it open with a fucking knife.
I had to make the two men.
Yeah. No, you couldn't even lift it up either. They chopped it with a knife.
They had to chop with a knife, and they still couldn't even cut
like,
through
why
all the
even
layers.
turn that? Like, we're obviously going through someone who passed away's shit. We found this in the back of a closet.
It is a mummified body, and they're like, we found your fingerprints.
You think I'm going to plant this on my best friend when they die?
You're going to jail.
And you're going to jail.
What a dickhead cops.
Dickheads.
Identifying this male was not an easy task. His skin had thinned so much, but they were able to pull fingerprints by using this like special like concoction solution that they had that made his skin harden.
Okay.
And it worked. They identified the mummy in Dorian Corey's closet as a man named Robert Worley, who was a man that was last seen in 1968. A man who had been missing for about 25 years.
Oh my God.
Robert Bobby, also known as Bobby, Worley, who was also known as Robert Wells, was born December 18th, 1938. The only existing records from Worley's life were criminal.
Oh.
He'd been arrested for, trigger warning, raping and assaulting a woman in 1963 and served 3 years in prison. And Robert Worley, according to anybody that knew him, he was just like a pretty like awful human being.
Yeah,
like
that's
he
what
was
I've
just
read
like a
too.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
He physically and just mentally abused and hurt anybody that was close to him or in his life in general. But the question remained, and it was the question that was on anybody's mind that knew this case. How did this mummified body end up in the back of the Queen of Drag's closet?
Right.
Was Dorian Corey seriously capable of committing murder? And why was the body not disposed of?
Why would it be in the closet? Like, wouldn't you think like about that? Like, I'm about to die. Morgan, if I'm about to die and I have a body in my closet, I'm like, listen, bitch.
You got to do something about it.
I've got a body in the closet, and it's been here for a hot sec, and I didn't want to tell anybody, but I'm going to die, and I can't leave this for you to sift through.
Right.
We need to go. We need to get rid of it.
We need to do something about it.
Like, tonight.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much decomposed. It's
like
been in there for a minute.
You weigh 135 pounds. I know you're not going to be able to carry it.
Yeah, and like I'm not doing well because I'm sick, so I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. We have to call in reinforcement. We have to get rid of this thing.
Yeah, we got to do something about it.
Yeah, we got to go.
Right now.
Right now.
So there are a lot of theories about how this mummified body got in the back of Dorian Corey's closet, but most of the people that were close with Dorian, they just don't think that she's capable of murder. Mm-hmm. No one that socialized with Dorian or lived with Dorian ever recalled her mentioning Robert, let alone confessing to killing him. And a lot of like cues like dictated that Dorian really had no reason to engage in such a violent crime. But there are some theories here. So Taylar, we're going to run through them.
Okay.
The first theory that we have is just a robbery gone wrong. Some of Dorian's fellow drag queens speculated that Robert was a burglar who had broken into Dorian's home, and this prompted her to act in self-defense.
Yeah.
After all, Dorian lived in Harlem, where violent crimes were very, very common at the time. Plus, there were rumors that Dorian had allegedly attached a note to the body, reading, quote, "This poor man broke into my home and was trying to rob me." But police never confirmed or denied that they found a note with the body. And I'm not a fan of this theory because
all of you know that we have been burning it from both ends lately. And at the end of what feels like an endless day at work, home, school, or an event, the last thing I want to do is cook dinner.
But when your fridge is empty, that urge to order in and skip the cooking happens all too often.
Thanks to Daily Harvest, a sponsor of Creeps and Crimes, I don't have that takeout temptation anymore.
Daily Harvest helps me keep my freezer fully stocked with options that are delivered right to my door and are delicious, nourishing, and ready in minutes.
Daily Harvest delivers delicious harvest bowls, soups, flatbreads, snacks, smoothies, lattes, and more, built on organic fruits and vegetables.
Daily Harvest has delicious options for any time of day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and even dessert. Everything is always on hand in your freezer and ready to enjoy when you need it. Lately, I have been loving their flatbreads. At the end of the day, I come home, kick my shoes off, and heat up my favorite tomato and basil flatbread. That is, if Aaron doesn't get to it before me.
Right. With Daily Harvest, I never have to question if the food I'm eating is good for me. They create food that is both good for my health and the health of the planet. Love that. By supporting farmers who invest in practices that increase biodiversity and improve the health of our soil while delivering foods in recyclable and composting packaging. Daily Harvest does all the work, so you don't have to do it. All you have to do is eat.
New on the scene is their delicious harvest bakes for those moments when you're looking for homemade feels without any of the work. They are ready to bake veg-packed dishes sizzling with gourmet level flavors that are big enough to share. You just won't want to.
Avoid the takeout temptation and get Daily Harvest. Go to dailyharvest.com/creepsandcrimes to get up to $40 off of your first box.
That's DAILYHARVEST.com/creepsandcrimes for up to $40 off your first box. dailyharvest.com/creepsandcrimes.
When your manhood bends in a different direction, visit PDURO.com to find a urologist, because a bend in your erection might be Peyronie's disease, or PD. It's a condition that involves a buildup of scar tissue, also called plaque, but it's treatable. Xiaflex, collagenase Clostridium histolyticum, is the only non-surgical FDA-approved injection for Peyronie's disease. Xiaflex is a prescription for adult men who have a plaque that can be felt, and a curve in their penis greater than 30 degrees at the start of treatment. Along with daily penile stretching and straightening exercises, Xiaflex has been proven to help gradually reduce the bend. Results will vary. Don't receive if the treatment area involves your urethra, the tube that urine passes through, you're allergic to any collagenase, or the ingredients in Xiaflex. May cause serious side effects, including penile fracture or other serious injury during an erection, severe allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis, and localized skin and soft tissue death called necrosis due to hematoma, which could require surgery. You may feel sudden back pain reactions after treatment. Seek help right away if you have any signs of injury. Do not have sex or any sexual activity during and for at least 4 weeks after each treatment cycle, which includes 2 injections, 1 to 3 days apart. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions. If you have a bleeding condition, or take blood thinners, as risk of bleeding or bruising at the treatment site is increased. Ask your doctor about all possible side effects and for product information. Talk to a urologist about Xiaflex. Find a Xiaflex-trained urologist at PDURO.com or call 877-942-3539.
I think if there was a robbery and I acted in self-defense, I wouldn't go to the extra extent of like
Hiding the body.
Yeah, in such a manner of a way of like.
Well, yeah, I see where you're going, like, with that, like, in a way of, like, really hiding it.
Yeah.
And then plus, so there was a gunshot wound. Wasn't it in the back of the head?
Yes.
Okay, so if someone's robbing me, I'm not shooting them from the back of the head.
Yeah.
I will shoot them from the front of the head. Or I would call the police. But see, that's where I'm going with this is we're over here thinking like, okay, well, if someone breaks in and I'm using self-defense to kill them. Well, first off, she was a black woman, a black trans woman.
Yeah. That
was big into the drag scene. Like, what is the good of calling the cops? Like, you might as well just go to the grave and let someone find that body. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. The next theory is the theory of the ex-lover. Most people believe that Robert had potentially been an abusive ex-lover of Dorian and that she may have shot him in self-defense during a fight. Abuse against transgender people by their partners was and still is a common occurrence in the trans community. And a great example of this is the murder of a transgender woman who was very prominent in the drag community named Venus Extravaganza.
Which we also see on Paris is Burning.
Yeah. According to Lois Taylor, Dorian had once written a short third-person story about a transgender woman who killed her lover in revenge after he pressured her into having sex reassignment surgery. Handwritten on a piece of paper, yellowed with age, the story seemed at least loosely autobiographical. Dorian had breast implants and had possibly taken female hormones. And the story was like peppered with references to her own life, including the Pearl Box Review, a touring drag show that she'd performed with in the 60s that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So she wrote this story, and even though it was this fictional story, it was very much similar to her own life, and it was, you know, about this transgender woman who killed her lover. So what if this was her story of her and Robert?
Because the partner was pressuring the woman to have sex reassignment surgery?
Yeah, in her story.
And then they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, damn.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting.
And according to the police interview, Robert Worley's brother, a man named Fred, claimed that he remembered on occasion that Robert was drunk and rambled on about someone named Dorian. So there was some sort of corroboration that Robert was in a relationship with Dorian, and if that is true, it could mean that Dorian
did kill
Robert Worley.
Which would, I mean, if they were together and it was very private, because maybe on both terms, you know, whatever, and then he becomes abusive because of probably many reasons, because we already know what his past and record looks like.
Yeah.
He becomes extremely abusive, and Dorian Corey's like, fuck that, and gets rid, which would make sense why he's in his boxers.
Yeah, sleeping.
Yeah, because who's breaking in the house in boxers? In boxers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody. And then another theory is that this body was already there. This theory speculates that the body was already in the closet when Dorian moved from her apartment, which was at 150th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue, to the one located 10 blocks away where the body was found and where she was living when she died at West 140th Street in 1988, which is an interesting theory. And then the last theory I have is that she was assisting in like this murder cover-up. And this theory speculates that Dorian was hiding Robert Worley's body either for a friend or for somebody in the house of Corey. She was protecting somebody that was in her house.
Okay.
And covering up a murder.
I could see that being a possibility, but at the same time, you don't fuck with Dorian Corey. And I don't think Dorian Corey would fuck with that. I think Dorian Corey would be like, okay, here are some resources for you. I'm not putting it in my own fucking house.
Right.
But, you know.
Right.
We can do this. And then also like in saying like, okay, well, maybe it was the person that lived before them. Well, okay, was it someone that she knew that lived there before? That's a big question.
Yeah.
And then also it's like, well, she's known to be this massive fashion guru designer. I'm positive if there's a trunk in the apartment that she's moving into, she's saying, will you move this fucking trunk out? Because
I need room
have space
in my closet.
So,
or she sees a trunk and she's like, what's in there? Out of curiosity, he's got to open it up.
Yeah. And then maybe is like, I have to fucking cover this up. But then why not? Well, then I was going to say, well, why not call the police? But that's my own ignorance saying, you know, it just wasn't a safe space for her to call the police.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know why there was a mummified body in Dorian Corey's closet. I would love to know. I would love to know.
It's one of the greatest American mysteries, I must say.
It really is.
It really is. I mean, it's just such a bizarre case.
Yes.
Because it's okay. So let's think: is the letter there?
The letter,
like the letter that police said that wasn't in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a good cover up, but in terms of like logistics, you're not shooting someone that's coming around your house isn't coming in boxers unless maybe they had like a really nice leather fit that you needed to use in your design.
Right.
Then yeah, I would strip it.
Yeah, for sure.
But like also, it's from a shot from behind.
Yeah.
If someone's breaking into the home, they're not turning their back to you.
Self-defense, you're like fighting. Like you don't get a shot from behind.
You don't get to get shot from behind. So I kind of like the theory that this was like, I don't love the theory, but an abusive partner that she had just had enough of, and was honestly like, I'm doing something better for the community by just doing this and getting rid of it.
Yeah. What if all the theories are wrong and it's something we just totally haven't gotten?
Well, I did read on this one Reddit thread, like a long time ago, the first time I ever heard of this case. Okay, I think the first time I ever heard of this was when Morbid covered this case. And of course I had to go watch Paris is Burning and all the things, okay? And I found this little Reddit thread discussing it, and they were talking about a possible deathbed confession. Yeah, and that it's like something that no one ever talks about. And that's why Lois wanted people to be there with her when she discovered it.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. I have 2 straight men here.
Right.
This is my perfect time to have like witnesses that couldn't be written off by police.
Yeah. So you think she knew? Lois Taylor
Maybe
knew.
she knew. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That is such a good case.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a wild case.
Queen.
All right. Thanks so much, Morgan. Okay. So the case I have for you guys today is not as murder mystery as Morgan's.
Okay.
But it is something that's really important and something that we want to talk about, especially with wrapping up our LGBTQ plus Pride Month injustice section. And this is a case that, like I already said, kind of really grabbed my heart from the first time I heard it and researched it. So I'm going to give you guys the full spectrum of it. And I do want to let you know that this is not gory. This is a missing person. So I do, when you're listening, please listen for details, especially if you're from this area. Okay?
Okay.
According to an article written by the Time magazine's Madeline Carlisle, in 2021, at least 130 bills were introduced into state legislatures that targeted trans people. I'm talking restrooms, sports, medical care, literally everything about their human rights. And a record-breaking 25 anti-LGBTQ plus bills were ultimately enacted into law, which 13 of the 25 were anti-trans laws in 8 different states. 2021 was the deadliest year for transgender and gender nonconforming individuals in the United States on record. The HRC, or the Human Rights Campaign, began recording these incidents in 2013, and at least 50 of the 256 fatal attacks recorded since 2013 happened in 2021. Last year, y'all.
Wow.
Literally last year. Of the recorded incidents since 2013, 3/4 of the victims were 35 years old or younger. 85% were trans women. 84% were people of color. Yet 66% were Black trans women. And these numbers do not even count the number of missing or disappeared trans people in the United States. Before the records were kept, in 2012, a beautiful 19-year-old Black trans woman went missing in Charlottesville, Virginia. And this is the case of Sage Smith. So before we get started, it wasn't until later in life that Sage announced publicly that she identified as a woman using she, her pronouns. But because her name was never legally changed before her death, you will see listed in articles that they call her by Deshad. And listen, typically I would never dead name an individual. However, it is extremely important for this story, case, and your own research, which I highly encourage you to do, that you know the majority of these articles are titled Deshad Sage Smith. Sage's family says that she was a little bit more gender fluid, and they were able to, she didn't mind them calling her by Deshad and using he, him pronouns at times. However, I'm going to be referring to Sage as Sage for this entire episode because I don't feel comfortable using her dead name. Sage Smith was born on December 13th, 1992 in Charlottesville, Virginia, to Latasha Dennis and Dean Smith. Soon after her birth, Latasha and Dean separated and remarried with new partners, having kids of their own and many new step-siblings on both sides. Sage struggled with this change in family dynamics, even though she was extremely young at the time, and it was pretty rough for everyone. When Sage was in elementary school, her father, Dean, was sent to jail on drug charges. At this point, Sage's home life was extremely unstable, and she went to have to live with her paternal grandmother, who was called Miss Cookie, in Garrett Square, which is known for being a low-income, high-crime area.
Okay, but I love Cookie.
I know, Miss Cookie. Are you kidding?
I love Cookie.
How stinking cute is that? Eventually, Sage was sent back to live with her mother, but not long after she was sent back to live with her mother, she was placed into foster care because her mother was deemed unfit to raise her. In middle school, which was the early 2000s, Sage came out to her family and friends as being gay, which is something that she knew about herself for a very long time. Her grandmother, Miss Cookie, was extremely loving and supportive and very happy for Sage as long as she was embracing her true self. Unfortunately, other family members did not feel the same, and Dean, her father, was extremely upset. And the kids at school began bullying Sage. Her own football teammates turned on her and took turns pissing on her football jersey before a fucking game.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Atrocious.
This is disgusting.
That was disgusting. That was it. Dean realized at the end of the day, Sage was his child, his first baby, and no matter what, he loved Sage, and he was her protector and father. Dean began embracing Sage for who she truly was, accepting her and apologizing for all of the awful shit that he had said and done. And the two started their relationship over and became closer than ever, celebrating Dean as he had been released from jail and started his life over with new goals, new purpose, and new surroundings.
Good for him for learning to accept.
Right. In 2011, Sage Smith graduated high school, the first ever in her family.
That's incredible.
And this was an amazing moment for her. She was celebrated and just ready to take on the next steps of her life and career. At this point, Sage had been exploring with gender fluidity and fashion. She had never felt more comfortable in her skin, her clothes, and her body. She went on to cosmetology school, working as an assistant at a salon in town to make some extra cash, and even starting her own at-home braids business to sharpen her skills while making some extra cash.
Yes.
Right, we love a grinder. But Sage needed her own space. So, with the help of the foster system, Sage was placed into an apartment with two other roommates in March of 2012. Her two roommates were also Black trans women named Shakira and Aubrey. The three became extremely close. I'm talking best friends, inseparable, me, you, and Noodle, like besties. And Sage loved her independence, freedom, and new friendships. The three would go out often. Sage loved dancing. She was extremely outgoing and fun. The three just clicked. Sage was now also identifying fully as a woman, using she, her pronouns, and those who were around her constantly understood and supported this with her. But according to Kendall Ray and her reporting on this case on her YouTube channel, because of the laws at the time allowing businesses to literally discriminate against their employees or people that they were potentially hiring, it was extremely hard for Shakira, Sage, and Aubrey to make money, leaving them working multiple minimum wage jobs just to barely make their rent, yet they were still falling behind.
What year was this again?
And this is in 2013, between 2011 and 2013.
That's so fucking sad.
I mean, it's just like awful to think about. And so they're working like all these jobs just trying to make their rent, and they still can't even make their rent.
Yeah.
So they were like, let's get creative. And they started throwing parties at their apartment or going and throwing parties for people at like other locations. And they would charge a cover to like enter every single weekend.
Hustlers. Love the vibes.
And according to an article written by Emma Eisenberg with Splinter News, which by the way, literally so much of my notes comes from Emma. She has done amazing reporting on this case, and I do give her credit throughout, but I did want to make a side note, like very, very, very thorough investigation reporting skills on this. These parties were catered to men who were not out yet. So sometimes they would use these for like hookups or for fun, but mainly for cash. And they did this like with other friends. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these men were actually married and had very successful careers and came from different walks of life. Shakira and Sage really watched out for each other during these meetups, sitting outside in the cars to make sure like the other is safe, constantly texting back and forth while the other one's in the house, just being very protective and aware of the potential danger that they really were putting themselves into. And that's just who Sage was at her core. She was extremely protective, nurturing, and just was absolutely not to be fucked with ever. Occasionally, Sage would place a casual encounters ad on Craigslist, according to that same article written by Emma. During one of these encounters, the wife of the man that Sage was seeing at the home came in and caught them.
Oh.
And the man turned on Sage and like attacked her.
Oh, shit.
Sage filed a police report and the man was arrested and charged.
Good.
Thankfully. I mean, I was not expecting it to go that good. You know what I mean?
No, me neither.
But that was this danger that Sage, Shakira, and Aubrey were in with these parties and meetups, just trying to make cash because people were literally discriminating against them. On November 9th, 2012, Sage publicly posted on Facebook, quote, "I am a girl, #respect it."
Word.
End quote. Though everyone already knew that about Sage, that she identified as a woman, it was extremely important for her that she made a public post about it. And on Monday, November 19th, that same year, so this is literally 10 days later, it was Shakira's 19th birthday party. So, of course, the three were like, fuck yeah, we're throwing a banger for this. And we're covering a $20 cover to get in.
Yeah, and the cover is now $40.
Yeah. So it was huge and fun and big, and everyone was just enjoying themselves and celebrating Shakira. When a woman came into the party, she like paid and like came into the party, and she's like getting angry and insane with one of Sage's friends for apparently sleeping with the man the woman was seeing at the time. And somehow, I don't really know how this happened. Maybe it was mistaken identity, but the woman begins like targeting Sage in the middle of this. The entire party ends up getting in this massive like group fight that migrated outside and into the street. There were people pulling up in their cars, jumping out of their cars, running into the fight circle, and like it was just completely out of control. Like people were being called in as backup, and it was like 100 people in this fight.
Holy shit.
I mean, it was insane. And during this, a man named Jamel Smith began fighting Sage. So the police had been called at this point, and they broke up the fight at 11:20 p.m. But Jamel ended up filing a formal report, like police report, against Sage, saying that she had damaged his car, but no one was arrested or like charged with this. No one understood what the hell had just happened. It was literally blindsiding out of nowhere and ended up targeting Sage for no reason. Like, she wasn't even involved in this. And Sage felt like Shakira did not back her up enough in the middle of this. And she was extremely upset with Shakira. She was like,
hell yeah.
Like, you didn't even come in and back me up and, like, help me. Like, I was getting straight up attacked, and I felt like you weren't there for me.
Yeah.
So the two began screaming back and forth at each other, and Shakira calls her friends from Norfolk, Virginia to come pick her up and take her home. So as she's waiting on her friends to come pick her up, which is her hometown, they're like screaming, fighting at each other. It's never like a physical, but very much a verbal altercation. And they're saying like some mean shit to each other, like really like letting it all out. And during this, the last part of the argument, they both said like, "I hate you," and Shakira left. The next morning, on November 20th, Sage slept in, and once she woke up, I mean, of course she probably slept in, like, holy shit, that was the craziest day ever.
I wouldn't have gotten up until 8 o'clock the next night.
Oh, yeah. No, I would have been up at midnight the next day. But once she woke up, Sage called her father, Dean, to congratulate him on the anniversary of being out of jail and changing his life. The two talked for a little bit before Sage asked if she could borrow some extra cash in order to get her hair braided. After getting off the phone, Sage got ready, and this is because she had a date that evening with an unknown person. At approximately 5:40 p.m., Sage told Aubrey that she was leaving to go to her date and left the home. Aubrey dozed off not long after on the couch and ended up waking up at 8 p.m., only to realize that Sage had not returned home. Aubrey called Sage, but the call went straight to voicemail. This was unlike Sage at all. She was always carrying a charger on her. She would plug her phone in anywhere. It was always like on loud right beside her, and she was extremely quick to respond and answer. Aubrey tried to remain calm, assuming like maybe Sage like would call back at any second. Maybe like her phone died for just a second. She's trying to get it plugged in. So Aubrey waited and waited before falling back asleep again. And she wakes up the next morning. Now it's 9 a.m. on November 24th, and Aubrey calls Shakira to see if she had heard anything from Sage, but she hadn't. So Shakira tells Aubrey to call Miss Cookie, Sage's grandmother. So Aubrey did. Miss Cookie immediately dialed 911 reporting Sage missing because the next day was Thanksgiving. Sage would never miss a holiday or go MIA right before. The police were way too calm for Sage's family, so they started their own investigation to prove to them that Sage was in danger and that this was an extremely serious matter. Sage's family began guessing Sage's account passwords for social media, emails, and even her phone account in order to see who Sage was last speaking with and who she had met up with that night, because no one knew who this mystery man was.
Yeah.
So they finally get into her phone account and they're able to access her text messages when they see that the last few texts are from an unknown number. And this is what they said. At 5:17 p.m., Sage says, "When are you leaving?" At 5:20 p.m., an unknown number responds and says, "I already left. I'm at the Hampton Inn." At 5:40 p.m., we know that Sage left her apartment when talking to Aubrey. At 6:08 p.m., the unknown number says, "Where are you at?" At 6:12 p.m., Sage says, "I'm standing here. Where are you?" At 6:18 p.m., Sage gets a call from one of her friends in Northern Virginia, and the two talked between 6:18 and 6:27. During this phone call, this unknown number texts Sage multiple times saying, "Hey, I'm here. Where are you? Where are you? I'm waiting for you. I'm giving you 5 more minutes." And at 6:27 p.m., the unknown number says, "Bye, you stood me up." So still on the phone with her friend, Sage runs into her sister Kiera while walking down 4th Street towards the Amtrak station at approximately 6:35 p.m. So Sage gets off the phone call and she's talking to Kiera, and she tells Kiera that she's going to meet a guy and walks off, which was the last known sighting of her, and she was walking towards the Amtrak station. Texting the unknown number again at 3:37 saying, "Sorry, I was on the phone call with a friend. See you soon." After reading through these text messages, the family realized that this was a man that Sage had been seeing and speaking with for several weeks at this point, and the two had met up on several different occasions to have sex with each other. Dean, Sage's dad, did not recognize this unknown number, and no one in the family had it saved in their phone. So he took to Facebook, asking for anyone who knows this number to let him know. Not long after this, he gets a message from one of Sage's friend, who was another trans woman in the community. The woman explains that this number belongs to a man named Eric McFadden. She explained that Eric and Sage had been seeing each other secretly because Eric was not open with his sexuality just yet and had been paying Sage to keep their relationship a secret. Family and friends began sharing photos of Eric on social media, trying to track him down, and reported this to the police. By Thanksgiving Day, which was November 22nd, Thursday, November 22nd, an investigation ensued with the Charlottesville Police Department. On Saturday, November 24th, a search was conducted of Sage's neighborhood, and that evening, another person was reported missing in Charlottesville. A woman named Esther was reporting her boyfriend, Eric McFadden, missing. Eric had been staying in Esther's apartment and house sitting while she was out of town visiting her family for Thanksgiving. When she returned, there was no sign of Eric, and he was not responding to any calls or text messages. Police told Esther about Sage Smith's disappearance and how Eric was the last known individual to be in contact with Sage, asking if she would be able to come up to the station just for some questioning on Monday the 26th. Esther came to the station for the interview and was able to give police more detail than they were ever expecting, because apparently on the night before, November 25th, Sunday, Eric called Esther telling her that he was in Washington, D.C. and needed her to send him money.
What?
She told Eric that, yo, the police are looking for you, and here's the lead detective's information. You need to call this person. After this, Esther allowed police to come into her apartment just to prove that he was not there and search around. There was no sign of Eric. However, they were able to collect his laptop, clothes, and belongings from the home to log as evidence, but they did not have a warrant to search these because they don't have the grounds to get a warrant to. In this, they discovered a Charlottesville CPS receipt for November 22nd, 2 days after Sage went missing, meaning he did not immediately flee town after. But when his employers were contacted, they confirmed that Eric was a no-call, no-show since the 21st. On Tuesday, November 27th, detectives received a phone call from Eric McFadden.
No way.
He explained that he was scheduled to meet Sage at the Amtrak station on November 20th. However, Sage never showed up, so he left, which aligns with Sage's messages. But then he goes on to explain that he was now living in New York.
Oh.
And
Okay,
detectives are like, okay, well, why? Are you running away? And he's like, no, I've just never been to New York before. So
Okay, Eric.
okay. So detectives are like, okay, let's make a deal. How about you return to Charlottesville via bus, and we'll pick you up and take you from the bus station to questioning, and then you're free to go. Eric's like, you know what? That's cool with me. They hang up and they confirm the day and go on. Well, the next day, November 28th, a full search was conducted around the streets of the wooded areas where Sage was last seen supposed to be meeting Eric, and well into the area where Eric McFadden was living at the time, which was just like a few streets down. On November 29th, Esther, Eric's GF, called police and said that Eric would be coming into town the next day, like confirming like he's going to be coming in on the 30th, and this is the location, this is a bus stop, here's the time to pick him up. They're like, okay, thank you, whatever. Well, November 30th, the day that he's supposed to be coming, that he comes around. Police had spent that entire day with this trash expert at a landfill in Henrico County, which is like 40 minutes away from Charlottesville, to pick up Eric. And they get a call from Esther as they're driving back, letting them know that Eric had emailed her and said that he was not coming, he was now on the run.
What?
So according to Emma with Splinter News, he had emailed Esther moments before saying, quote, "I'm headed out. This is what happened. I never did anything sexual with that guy."
Rude.
And he was blackmailing me. He wanted me to give him money, not to lie from saying that we did and I did, and he agreed to stop. And then the next time he hit me up for money, I said no. We did meet up, but he had a lot of enemies, and me and him were just walking when someone showed up, and I kept walking and I didn't look back. So basically saying that
hate him.
Sage had enemies, and like people came up to her when they were walking, and instead of like engaging with the enemies that allegedly came up, he just turned a blind eye and walked off and left Sage.
Okay.
But then like, why are you on the run?
Okay, Eric, yeah. What are you running from?
So he goes on to apologize to Esther, like saying that he's sorry for messing up their relationship, and he's moving to the Midwest. So police classified Eric as now a person of interest in the disappearance of Sage Smith, contacting the FBI along with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, obtaining search warrants for Eric's computer, email accounts, cell phone, all apps on the cell phone, and bank records. In December of 2012, police performed 2 more searches with cadaver dogs this time, along with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management and search and rescue dive teams in the area that Sage was last seen near Eric's apartment, which was like a railroad track that was by a sediment pond. And at this pond, dogs had made slight indications of picking up Sage's scent. So they did a dive and search of this pond, but nothing was ever found that was connected to Sage or her disappearance. In early 2013, a friend came forward stating that they had actually seen Sage Smith at 7 p.m. on November 20th eating at the Wild Wings Cafe, which was right beside the Amtrak station. And after talking for a few minutes, Sage said that she was waiting on a date and the friend left. Even still, with all of the searches, efforts, and community involvement, this case was going nowhere. And how wild is it we just now have someone coming forward literally months later?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you why. It's because the media refused to report on this case.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Even with the investigation being opened and pursued by police, nothing. Word was not getting out the way it needed to because the media just did not deem Sage worthy. And it's fucking sickening.
Yep.
Yet, when Hannah Graham, who I covered in episode 46, a white British student from the University of Virginia that went missing, you remember we talked about all of the like CCTV footage outside of the bars. If you haven't listened to that case, go listen to that case. In February of 2014, the media literally took over and stormed this case. Search helicopters, police were like literally lining the streets searching for this girl, like speaking to the family, with the family, like working really closely with them. And it was all that we could talk about. Like, in fact, it only took 3 days to locate Jesse, her killer, who had fled to Texas, and only 36 days to locate Hannah's remains.
Yeah, because Hannah wasn't a black trans woman.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
It's so fucking
but
sick.
What's more infuriating about is like literally even police were like slightly on board with us. So why wouldn't the media want to take it?
Right.
Like it makes make it make sense. And in 2015, Eric McFadden was cleared by police.
I'm sorry, what?
Publicly, despite having no contact with him or ever interviewing him ever.
Publicly? Oh, so the media will pick that up.
Oh, yeah, right? In January of 2016, there was a reported sighting of Sage in somewhere in Virginia. I can't really pronounce. It looks like Shakti. I don't know. It's 300 miles away from Charlottesville. And police responded to this to like ensue this lead. And it wasn't Sage. It was her former roommate, Shakira.
What?
So police spoke with Shakira because obviously they hadn't in like years at this point because it's 2016. It's January of 2016. So they're speaking with Shakira and she informs them that she was extremely and has always been extremely suspicious of Aubrey, their other roommate, for a few reasons.
All these curveballs right now.
I know, right? Not long after Sage went missing, literally days after, Aubrey was using Sage's food stamps and credit cards to go shopping and even wearing Sage's wigs, clothes, and jewelry.
Well, that's fucking weird.
Aubrey like explained this away, basically saying like, this is what we did. We shared everything.
You shared credit cards?
But Shakira was like, I found that bizarre and I shared everything with you guys. And it also came out later that Aubrey and Eric knew each other. Like, she would go with Sage to hang out with Eric on multiple occasions, and they had mutuals. But still, that doesn't make you guilty. It just makes you sus.
Yeah.
So, to be sure, Aubrey's phone records were checked by police, and it showed that she was at the home when Sage disappeared. But that tower that covered the apartment also covered the Amtrak station by the apartment.
So you can't be sure.
So it would have been the same. Yeah, like you can't really tell. Like I know you can tell because it's like, is it pulling off of two different towers, like the east versus west, north? Like I've read a lot about it, but like basically they were like, we can say that you're home, but like we also can't say that you weren't home.
Right.
Well, in March of 2017, Sage Smith's case was reclassified finally as a homicide investigation, and Eric McFadden was deemed a person of interest. However, I'm sorry, no, a witness, a crucial witness. However, no one had seen or heard from Eric since he emailed Esther, including his close family and friends. In June of 2019, Eric McFadden was officially reported missing for the second time, this time by his mother. And to many, he is presumed dead.
Oh my God.
The most recent update I have on this entire case is from November of 2021, where police reclassified Eric as a, quote, critical person of interest. So now he's no longer a witness. Now he is a person of interest, which is a step up, I guess, in Sage's case. There is currently a $10,000 reward for any information. If you know anything about this case, the location, or the disappearance of Sage Smith, or even the whereabouts of Eric McFadden, please contact CrimeStoppers at 434-977-4000 or the Charlottesville Police Department at 434-970-3280. And that is the case of Sage Smith.
I think there's something more to this.
No, yeah, way more.
Like,
Well, first off, Eric McFadden had something to do with this.
Oh, Eric McFadden guilty.
Yeah, he fled. Straight up ran away.
Fled, and then it's like, yeah, I'll come back. Pick me up at the bus station. See you guys.
I'm not guilty.
See y'all in a few.
And then dips.
Actually, let me send an email.
So I wonder if he's alive.
I wonder if he's alive or... I'm not going to say it, but...
I don't know.
I think there's something way more to this.
And I just hate it for Sage.
Yeah.
She literally was finally like at this peace in her life and like ready to like really grow, and she was forced to put herself in danger because of the laws in place at the time.
Yeah.
But like it's still obviously an issue today, or we wouldn't even be.
And for Aubrey to be like, no, we always shared stuff like that. Girl, you don't share credit cards.
I don't understand that logic.
If someone was sharing, I mean, Taylar, you want to share credit cards? I'd love to.
We literally own a business together.
We don't share credit cards.
share credit cards for good reason.
But like, holy shit, you don't share credit cards. What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Like, she's suspicious too.
That's really sus.
And they knew each other?
Oh, and they actually, Aubrey and Sage, Shakira was like a new friend to Sage, but I read that Aubrey and Sage actually like grew up knowing each other. Like had been like childhood friends.
Interesting.
So that makes that even more weird, because let me tell you something. If me and you were not childhood friends, but basically kind of, if you go missing, I'm not wearing your clothes.
Who was the friend that told Dean about the number, that it was Eric's number?
It was another
It wasn't
woman
Aubrey.
No, it was a woman named Yami.
Okay.
Yes. And the person that came forward about the Wild Wings Cafe incident was a woman named Monica.
Okay.
So they're like not in, they're not people that were like, you know, best friends. But I do know that, if I'm not mistaken, I think Monica was like one of the people that would frequent these parties and like hookups with them. Mm-hmm. So I find that weird, because she obviously would have known. But at the same time, it's like, maybe I don't want to implement myself into this.
So Eric was never seen again after that,
No,
right?
he straight up, after he talked on the phone to go to New York and sent the email saying like, I'm not coming, I'm running, never
but
heard
like
from
in
again.
person, never seen.
Never seen. The last time he was seen would have had to been by Sage. And that's also the last person that saw her.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
What an awful missing persons case.
No, it's awful. And it's just so like ass backwards. Like, it just like nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, I don't know how to even explain it. And what's even more weird about Aubrey, I keep wanting to say Audrey. I probably said it a few times. That's my cousin's baby's name. And so every time I see like, because I called her Aubrey for so long, I like had to correct Aubrey to Audrey in my brain.
Yeah.
But what's really weird about that is like, she was like, I don't know who Sage is going to meet with. I don't know who Sage is going to meet with. Well, you knew Eric, and you knew that Sage had been seeing Eric.
Yeah, you knew damn well.
Right. So I find that really hard to believe and grasp.
Yeah, like I can't tie the strings in my head, but like there's something going on there.
Yeah, there's I don't know.
I've got to think about it a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, and by the way, no one's guilty. We're not saying that anyone's guilty. We're saying that everybody's sus. Eric might be guilty.
I think I'm gonna say that Eric's guilty.
Yeah, I think anybody would say that in their right mind, you know, because it's just.
I mean, the police are basically saying it. So we can say it.
Well, no, they're literally not saying that. That's the issue. They're only classifying him as a person of interest. But then they had the audacity to say that they think the family hurt the investigation by scaring him on Facebook by like posting his picture and phone number.
Okay, well, their daughter's missing. So.
Well, their daughter was straight up missing, and y'all weren't doing anything about it. And they had to do that to prove to you that there was like something going on.
Right, you weren't picking
and they were
up
like,
the
no,
case.
they scared him away. And okay, now, do I think that anybody should have to go through being outed on social media ever? No, I don't.
I agree with that.
That's rough. Like, even if you weren't involved and like you knew that like you weren't ready, like I would, maybe he just ran because of that. So that's a whole nother side of this.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That is true.
And his mom like got on a press conference and was like, baby, like just come home to me. Like, if you're in trouble, let me help you. If you're scared, let me help you. Just come home to me.
Yeah.
So there's a whole nother side of that. So I don't think anybody deserves to be outed like that. But I don't think it flopped the investigation. If anything, police should have acted faster and used that.
Absolutely.
Because he was still there. He was still in Charlottesville before. So if it just wouldn't have been taken serious, what does it matter? And it's not like the media was reporting on it. So how did he find this out?
Yeah. Damn.
But that is the cases for today, guys. Back to regular scheduled programming next week. And Patreon, we're about to record you guys an app.
Yeah, we're recording you next, Patreon. We're still laying in bed, and we'll be laying in bed for Patreon also.
We definitely will, because I'm so comfy.
Yeah.
I'm living my best life. I don't know where the mouse is or the keypad, but we're vibing. Oh, I found the mouse. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will see you guys next week. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, you can email us at creepsandcrimespodcast@gmail.com. If you have a creepy account that you would like to send in, please send that in at creepsandcrimespodcast@gmail.com. If you can't remember what our email is, you can go down to our show description. There's going to be a link down to it down there, or you can go to the link to our website that has a contact us page where you can click from there to send us an email. And also you can chat with us on there, send us your submissions or recommendations or creepy account submissions. You can follow us on Instagram at Creeps and Crimes Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Creeps_Crimes, on TikTok at Creeps and Crimes. And Morgan's personal is
Morg.m_G.
And mine is Taylar J with an A.
And also, Ollie's is Ollie's World.
Ollie's World. Also go like our Facebook page, and we are still interacting, commenting back and forth, messaging you guys on our private Facebook groups. So join those.
Subscribe.
Love you. Bye.